Something that worked well for you and something that didn't work well.
I don't really know. I mean, I didn't really see anything that didn't work well for me. I was able to get a lot done, so yeah.
So it was okay for you too, not like any major negatives?
Yeah. One thing that I would want to say though is that I would kind of prefer like a guided thing for AP Lit and Comp because that can be really confusing.
Okay, that's good to know. Madison, what worked well for you and what didn't work well for you?
There was nothing major that didn't work, but I agree with Samara about the length of calls. They went well, and Red Comet was pretty direct, straightforward. So
was it relatively direct to know what to do once you got into it?
yes.
Okay. And then Madison Hull, what's something that worked well for you and something that didn't work well?
I thought everything went fine with there being like a subject a day.
Okay. That was the other thing that I was curious about. I know some people like one subject focus in a day and some people drives them nuts. So you can speak to that also if you're like something that you liked or something you didn't like, something worked well, something that didn't work well. If you're one who particularly liked having a subject focus each one of the days of the week and put all your effort into that subject and you liked it, that'd be good to hear. If you're a person who felt that that didn't really work well for you and you ended up adding other subjects in, that would also be good to know. There's not one right or wrong way for that. Sometimes it just works better for different people. And if there's a mix, then I'll figure out ways to adjust for that. If there are a majority of people who like it one way or the other, then I can help shift and keep the focus in one direction or the other. So all these comments are really helpful so far. Thanks for adding those in. Krish, what do you think? Something that worked well and something that didn't work well.
I liked how we had individual like days to work on topics like the Red Comic courses, so I got a lot done there.
Okay.
And I don't think anything was not good about this week. I liked how everything was structured.
Okay. And then Kush, what do you think?
I liked how there was like subject days because it like kept me organized, and
Okay.
like I wasn't behind in anything for the week.
Is there anything that didn't work well for you?
I like this week. It's good.
Okay. And then Brandon.
Yeah, I just like the one subject a day thing. It just keeps me on task and knowing that, oh, I have just this subject a day.
Okay. And is there something that did not work well for you?
No, everything went fine.
Okay.
Nothing too extraordinary that happened.
Okay. And Sarah, how about you?
I liked the constant change of scenery.
Yeah, so for the people at school, we tried to do scenery changes so we're not in the same room or space. Can you explain that a little bit more to people who are remote so they know what you're talking about?
Oftentimes we'll come up to the fourth floor, move around downstairs while we're working.
And sometimes outside.
Yeah.
Is there something that didn't feel like it worked well for you, Sarah?
I couldn't focus on the subject-based learning. It was hard to stay on one subject all day long.
So you're one who likes a mix of different things in the day?
Yeah.
Does that work for you, Sarah, if we start out like a subject day, but then in the other times that we're not in the call, you can choose another subject to jump in on?
Yeah.
Okay, so that might be a solution for you. Isabel, what's something that worked well and something that didn't work well for you?
I thought that, Red Comet went pretty alright. Everything was really straightforward, and I didn't really get confused about anything. But I also don't really like the whole subject a day thing. I think that having more subjects in a day keeps me more productive in a way.
Okay. So that you also appreciate having a mix of different things in one day instead of just a single direction.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good to know. Renee, you're next.
I think everything went really well. I liked having the one subject a day because it does make me know what I had to work on and everything.
Okay. Anything that didn't work well for you?
No, not really.
Okay. Samuel, you're next.
Yeah, I also like the one subject a day. It just flowed better, focusing on, separate courses throughout the week. The calls were good, and I don't think anything went like badly.
Okay. Josh, you're next. Then Sophia, then Ayaka, then Brooklyn, so you know what order you're going in.
For me, one thing that worked well was, kind of moving, like Sarah said, move up here the fourth floor. It gives me like a chance to focus.
Okay.
And then one thing that didn't work well, I don't like having to focus on one thing during the night. I'd rather just bounce around between like 3 or 4 different courses. I feel more productive that way.
Okay. Next.
I just like working on whatever I need to do at the time because some of our projects for different courses are due sooner than the course that we're working on that particular day.
So by having flexibility to choose a different subject, you can align with the scheduling better or the time frame that you have. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. So was that a positive or a negative?
A negative, I guess.
Negative for having a single subject in a day?
Yes.
And a positive if you have the flexibility, you can adjust?
Yes.
Okay, is there any other comment that something that worked well or didn't work well for you in addition to that? Because that could be like a one that hit two at once.
Not really.
Okay. Next. I think we're at Ayaka next, right?
I liked being able to have a lot of time to work on Red Comet.
Okay, and then something that didn't work well?
Staying on one subject all day. I normally don't do that.
Okay. And Brooklyn?
I agree with Ayaka. Staying on one subject was kind of, I guess, annoying. I would rather have it as more of like a suggestion, just for like some structure.
Okay.
But it sounds like it works better for the remote students than those in person. So
It's interesting that brought that up because I'm noticing that trend too. I hadn't asked your class yet, but from the other people that I'm talking to, I'm noticing the people who are at home seem to appreciate the single subject focus, and people who are on site at school seem to appreciate a mixture of things.
I think it's just sort of because school already has a lot of structure, So
That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about that. That if you've got an external structure, then having variation is kind of nice. But if you have a place where there's not external structure, then having the single focus kind of gives it more of a focus. That's an interesting point. That's why it's good to hear feedback from all of you and hear your voices, because there are things that I haven't thought of. Michaela, you're next, and then Ryan.
I actually agree with like the whole remote like students liking the one subject days better, because personally, like the first week we had Red Comet, I was jumping back and forth throughout like the different courses in like a day, and that really stressed me out because having 5 courses alone is like kind of intimidating and stressed me out. But I feel like the structure with like having a course a day really helped me, and I get ahead in the course so that I won't have to worry about it throughout the week.
And that's kind of a nice feeling that it's not like, oh, I have to go back to it, but it's maybe kind of a feeling of accomplishment then.
Yeah.
Can you compare that at all with the feeling of being in person, since you've done both? What do you think for the people who mentioned that in person it feels different than at home?
I would say for like working remotely, it's nice having different days where you focus on one course, because what Brooklyn said, it was like more structure. And like when you're in person, there's already like different subjects at like different times. And so like when you do want to work on Red Comet, it's like you want to choose what you want to do.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective. I like that you all are bringing these things up, and it makes a lot of sense. Mikhail, is there anything that didn't work particularly well for you this week?
No, I think it went pretty smooth.
Okay. And then Ryan.
The subject days were okay, but the only thing that didn't work well for me was some subjects were harder to focus on than others.
Okay. Do you know why that might be? Was it more of like an interest thing or
I think it was just an interesting.
Okay. I was wondering that too, and I wanted your opinions on that idea. I was wondering if this single subject day would be good if it's an area that you either feel confident in or interested in, but if it's a day that it's a subject you're not as confident or interested, if it would make it feel like it drags on forever. But it sounds like so far that doesn't have that kind of strong feeling for a bunch of people. Is there anyone that has that feeling? Like if there's a particular subject that is maybe not your strongest or most favorite, and then it feels like, wow, that's a lot of this same topic in the same day.
Yeah, that's part of why I have to bounce around, because otherwise I can't focus and I just don't want to do it, can't do anything. So I have to bounce around to maintain like a somewhat interested level in it.
Okay, that makes sense. Any other comments about that first part about the independent progress versus group? I did hear one comment on the guided instruction of doing a little bit more with ELA. I know there are a couple people who did request that, and I'm happy to do that. So I wanted you to try the first week to see how that goes with relatively independent. And then I'll start building some of those in on those specific subject days where I'll have it, but you're not required to be part of that call. And then that goes in a little bit with the discussion as a class. And then underneath the assessment format where it says breakout groups, I wanted to know your opinion on that and to add that on for next week and the following. It may not be me giving direct instruction on something, but to have you in those breakout groups, the groups that you all came up with, and then have you in breakout rooms to discuss what parts you're on. What is your thought on something like that? And I can jump in on those discussions and see where I can help. Does it sound like it might be interesting, worthwhile, or annoying?
Interesting.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Let me do it this way. Is there anyone who's like, oh no?
It seems pretty annoying because like I know like friends that I did breakout sessions for like other school for like my football team, and we never talked to each other. Like
So maybe like if it's forced, it would feel like
yes, it should be an option. Like you can do this, but like if it's forced, we might not be interested in the subject. It would just be
counterproductive.
nothing. Yes.
Okay, that's a good point. So I might have the breakout groups and then maybe do it a couple different days and see who shows up and who finds it interesting. That might actually start up a new group of people, like the ones who find it interesting, and then we can have you become a study group or discussion group for the optional ones. And then when we get to something, let's say in one of the novels or something else in anatomy and physiology, where I give you specific discussion questions or something to look up or to help study, then I can give you some direct breakout groups. Brandon, would that help if it was something in like a very specific thing that I'm asking your team to accomplish as opposed to just get together and breakout group?
Like we're in a group and then you assign us a topic.
Yeah, or something specific to do. Like if I had you quiz each other on something, like sometimes when we did that in person, I would say have one person ask and the other person try and answer the response, and I give you specific things to do, or look up these specific things, or here's a set of questions that might help you, and then that helps people identify what they know and what they don't know, and then come back to me. Would something that's guided like that be helpful, Brendan, or would that still feel that same way to you?
It would seem better than being forced into the situation with people that are there.
Because it sounds like if people just don't respond and you've got like this empty space and no one really saying anything, that part is the like unproductive.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, I think that's a better option.
Okay. So I'll keep that in consideration. And then I wanted to, oh wait, anyone else have any comments about that? Any really negative, like, ooh, no, please don't do that, or actually, yeah, I think that would be helpful? Any strong opinions one way or the other? Okay, so I think what I'll do first is optional. And then if I have a specific topic or something, I'll let you know that I'd like to get you together with those breakout groups and then have specific topics or things that you work on together. Okay. So that covers like the discussion as a class, breakout calls. The discussion as a class is like right now. The reason, again, I find this valuable and what we did the other day when I had you say something specifically is it's continuing to have you with speaking and listening skills. It's giving you a chance to hear each other's voices. It's giving me a chance to hear your voices. And I think that hearing the different perspectives people have will ultimately add to a broader thought process. So I still would like to have some discussions as a class like this from time to time. Do you prefer those in the morning or at the 1 o'clock time? Or no preference? You just come unmuted if you have an opinion.
I think the morning would be easier.
Okay, we've got one for morning. Any objections to morning?
I like the morning because we have the rest of the day to do rec comment or whatever we have to do.
Okay. So 2 for morning. Any others for, I should say, any for afternoon that prefer the afternoon to the morning for discussions?
Afternoon.
Okay.
I like the afternoon as well.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so we've got a mix. We may do some in the mornings and some in the afternoons. It's good to at least know perspectives on that. From what I heard just in the individual ones, the live calls seem to be going okay, that they weren't too long. So I think we've already touched on that one. Is there anything else anyone wanted to mention about live calls of something you want more of or doing different in the type of live calls that we've had? Sounded like they were pretty okay for what we're doing so far. Let's keep going like that. And then if we find something that's not working, then we'll readjust at that point. And you can all let me know if something's coming up where you're like, it's not really working too well for us. We already talked about the subject days. So I think what we're going to do is, again, another week of those subject days. But if it's a person who is like, this is not helping me focus, know that you have the freedom in the afternoons to switch subjects. And then I'll reconvene with the people who are fully in person so that we can talk about how to adjust that, since it seems like it's helpful for people who are in person to have a range of different things. Determine final artifact for the bubble project and the due date. So here was my question for you. You know how I said I'll put those all together in a Wakelet for you all to see? Would you prefer to look through those first together, and then on Monday we make a decision about what the artifact will look like in the due date? Or would you like to determine a due date and the final artifact today? I'm okay either way. I should do it this way. Is there anyone who's like, I really want to get this done now? Speak up now, or forever hold your peace. Otherwise,
Can we have the due date? Are we talking about the due date?
Yes.
So can we have the due date? We have the due date like next, like Monday at 5.
Either that, or we can talk about it on Monday after you all get a chance to look at each other's, and then have a due date like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Actually, yeah, that seems better.
Is there anyone else who disagrees with that plan if we talk about it on Monday after you get a chance to look at each other's and then have a due date on Tuesday or Wednesday?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. So I'm going to put a note in here. And and decide final due date on Monday. I'm actually going to put this in your OneNote page right now so we have that as a memory for Monday. And then some note reminders here. This week structure was, what do I want to call it? Relatively successful? Relatively okay? What word would you use to describe it? It's like an English language arts thing. What kind of vocabulary word would you fill in here?
We could say room for improvement, but overall successful.
And then, Brandon, can you help identify some of those rooms for improvement that we can jot down in these notes?
I can't. I don't know any off the top of my head right now.
I think one of them, if we keep this subject structure by one subject per day, there should be flexibility or, oops. How about that? What's another area for improvement that we can work on? Or is that pretty much it for right now? Maybe just that one for right now? Or was there any other one that I missed? People said, oh yeah, we're going to do those discussion group breakout groups. Or specific task or guided experience with the breakout group. And then the last one was some direct Does that cover the ones that I heard mentioned in this call? Or is there anything else that you can think of that I missed here? Oh yeah, one more. What about the people who are remote? Do you want me to keep doing live stream for some of the things that are on site from time to time? Like when I brought my phone out for the bubbles. Is that helpful at all to see what's going on, or does that feel unnecessary?
Both for me.
Yours didn't catch the microphone right away. Can you say that again, please?
Kind of both.
Okay.
Yeah, for quite a few things it can be helpful. So yeah, I have a question about that though.
Sure.
Really. I keep on hearing the mic cut out on those live stream calls, and it's specifically those. What's going on there?
Like outdoors?
No, like inside in the mornings.
I think it's because there's someone who keeps hitting the mute button. If it was a call that I set up personally, I'll set those up for only me as a presenter, so no one else can mute it. I think some of the other calls that were set up allowed anyone who was on the call to be a presenter, which gives them access to mute the person speaking. So I think that's what's happening this morning during the first morning call. I kept my mouse cursor on the microphone button and was literally clicking unmute every 1 to 2 seconds because someone thought it was a game.
That's kind of a problem.
It is very much a problem. And the
Okay.
reason I was trying not to react to it is because I knew the person who was doing it was trying to get attention and trying to get a reaction from me. And so that's why I was trying to keep it totally calm and unreactive, because sometimes people don't find it entertaining if they don't get the reaction they're looking for. So I want to thank all of you for acting mature and not doing that. At one level, it's funny. At another level, it's not fair to the people who are trying to listen. So good job for all of you who are being mature. But that's what was going on. I was asking if it was the ones outside, like on the patio or courtyard or something like that, because it could be my phone, or it could have been that I accidentally put my hand over the microphone on my phone. But if it was the indoor ones, that's what was going on. And I was just trying to play it cool. Okay, I'm hitting enter for this one to send that, so we have that in our meeting notes there. Checking to see if there was anything else I wanted to make sure I covered before you guys get off. I'm going to get on the call with 7 people for giving a chance to give an overview of your project. For those of you who've already done it, you can let someone know. Let's see, like Brooklyn, was it a scary and hard process to go over your personality island?
No, it was very casual and no pressure. So yeah, it was cool.
So you've got nothing to worry about. And it can take a really short time if that's all you want it to take. If you want to go in more detail with me, you can go in more detail. There's several people who volunteered to let me record their sessions. And the reason I want to do that is because there are some people who are either new to the school or who can learn from the types of depth that you all are putting into yours. I am so proud of how these projects came out and proud of you, because I could see so much depth of thought, emotion, even just in the designs that came out of it, let alone the layout of the sways. So excellent work on that. It just really made me happy. I was all excited when I saw them coming out, so good job with that. 2:30 to 2:45, we're doing, it's called a hand washing call, but it's something that Miss Shea found and told me about in the summer. I've been wanting to do it since the first week of school, because it's got kind of like this pop culture, global influence, and different ways that countries are approaching hand washing. It'll ultimately connect back in with some of the AP things that we're doing, and government and politics, and with like the types of communication, things like that. So she just mentioned this morning that she wanted to bring it in today. So that's why we reshifted some of those things. Thanks for being flexible. That'll probably be like 15 minutes, maybe not even quite that long. And then for the last part of the day today, for all of you who are remote, thanks for getting that sway for the measurement component for the grow creatures. They are absolutely looking disgusting over here. So I'll get pictures again, and then I'll upload those in case you're using the data from the on-site grow creatures. If you have your own grow creature, this would be another day to document. If you haven't already, we want to have a checkpoint on this September 4th. Miss Hunter and Miss Shea said that they would like to let it sit for maybe like over the weekend and possibly up through Wednesday, maybe even through Friday, to see if they get any bigger, because they saw some people left theirs in water even longer. To me, they kind of look like they've reached the maximum saturation capacity, but it's possible they might grow bigger. Do any of you have questions about that?
Oh yeah, about like my groups personally.
Yes.
Mine was looking really gross, and so my parents like threw it out on accident without me being aware of it. And so I only reached like 5 or 6 days and couldn't go like the full 10. So I might just like ask my sisters. Yeah, I documented it like
That's fine.
first few days.
That's okay. As long as you
I might ask my sister for like the rest of the measurements.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
And then I would say you can add that into yours too, and then pull that from your sisters, because it's like you and 4 other people, right, in the same group?
Yeah.
Okay. The part that we care about the most, especially for 9th and 10th grade, is I want you to see close observation with a starting baseline, and then like a final measurement at the very least, as long as you've got multiple data points. And then I'm going to have probably Miss Shea and Miss Hunter, since they were wanting to do something with like the 600%. to be able to check how much it actually grew, because we're ultimately going into, is this accurate advertising? Is it false advertising? How do you know what to believe on packaging? So it's hitting multiple layers of communication, and that's why I cared about you actually following through with this, because it's not just about, it's kind of hilarious and gross at the same time and something hands-on, but to ultimately connect in with the ELA and then the politics and government, because you're going to see false advertising on things all over the place, and fake news and misinformation, disinformation, all that kind of stuff. And then the communication part about analysis from English language arts, literature and composition. There's a heavy emphasis on analysis there. And so that part of analysis can happen in literature, but it could also happen in science and research and investigation and those kinds of things. So yes, as long as you've got those several data points, I can understand why your parents would throw it out, because it's absolutely disgusting. A couple of my friends, I've been sending them pictures of it to keep them updated, and they're like, ew, what am I looking at? So I get it. But that's my underlying purpose of having you guys do that. After you get those data points, I would like you to be able to fill in and complete the rest of your sway. I think we'll do this on Monday also, that we'll decide the final due date for the bubble photography and for that Grow Creatures one, then we'll be done with both of those. Are you good with that too? We'll make that decision on Monday.
Fine.
Okay. You may be done with it today by the time you just put in your data at the end. And if you want to just wrap it up and do any of the calculations on it to try and figure out the percentage growth, you can do that ahead of time and be done with it. Otherwise, like I said, we'll check in on it on Monday. Any other questions you have for me or comments you would like to make about week 3? We have made it through 3 full weeks of remote, hybrid, in-person, global pandemic, school starting, learning, and it is historic. We should be able to see a news show on Q13, I believe, this evening. When the newscaster came, he said that they're planning on airing it on Friday. Last night's one on schools, they said that Pierce County reversed their decision to open fully remote, and they're now allowing schools to open in person. So that was kind of a surprise, and I thought it was interesting because they did 3 stories in a row. One of them was schools going fully remote. The next one was reversal of decision for remote, and then the third one was will be ours, that we have the in-person and hybrid and remote. Updates on the hybrid thing. The lady that I'm talking to, who's a medical doctor, who's been informing me on some of the COVID things, she does microbiology. She was the one who said to wait 3 to 6 weeks before you change anything in the system. So if people have been coming in person, it's fine for them to go home and do that kind of hybrid thing. But if someone is fully at home, to not introduce anything new into the system for a minimum of 3 to 6 weeks. And she said because about those 2 weeks that it takes, if someone has it or it becomes a vector or catches it or something like that, for them to then spread it to someone at home, if that's the case. And then if that's the case, you would start seeing family members at home starting to catch it. So far, we don't see any of that, which is good news. And it seems like the mitigation procedures we did worked for the one person that did have it from a family member in their home. So we know it didn't come from our school to their home. It came from their home to that person. And then we've had several teachers who did COVID tests and tested negative, which is also great news because it shows that it didn't spread to our teachers within that time. So all positive there. I just miss all of you. I miss seeing you in class in person because it's still not the same. But I'm glad that you're all making the decisions that are for your family and for you. Just want you to know I miss you. And I'm glad I was just telling some of the people today, I'm glad that I do get to see some of the people in person also. Any other last things for me? Otherwise, I will let you go.
Yeah, one thing. I noticed on AP Lit and Comp, I still can't access the weekly check-in thing. It just says page not found.
Did you write to the AP teacher?
I wrote to them.
Did you get any response?
Receive anything? No, I did not.
Okay. I would
I'll
say
let you guys know though.
Thanks, Michaela. Can you post it in the 9th and 10th grade general channel when you find an answer?
I also wrote the teacher about that, and then he said that it's okay and it won't be held against us if we don't turn it in because it's not our fault.
Do we
Okay,
have to alert the teacher about it for
I
it to
would do
not
that.
be
Just make
held
sure.
against us?
I would make sure that you do that because then it's got time dated documented evidence that you attempted it, and I would even take a screenshot of it saying the error message.
Something in the contacting you red comment thing for the week. Something I just put it in, even if it's not in
Sophia, can you maybe type that because your microphone is so quiet it's hard to hear or it sounds a little bit muffled. Thanks for bringing that up, Gabe. Did anyone else get an answer? It looks like Sophia is starting to type something, or she might type a response there. Or Sophia, if you want to talk using someone else's computer, because I know you're in the same room as a couple people. Did that help respond to your question though, Gabe?
Yeah, I'm messaging the teachers and graders right now.
Okay. Okay, so if nothing else, then we'll see you at the 2:30 brief hand washing one, and then the live measurement check-in at the end of the day. Have a great weekend. Remember that we don't have class meeting on Monday. We'll resume again on Tuesday for week number 4 with 4 days in the week.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.